From the culture
to the courtroom.
This is Truth Uncut. From the culture to the courtroom, front row seats when Dennis Byron speaks. History speaks. From the culture to the courtroom, front row seats when Dennis Byron speaks. History speaks from the culture.
No cap, no spin, just facts. If it matters, we cover it. What's ready, B.I.B.? Ooh, Clara wanna know. Ooh, it's shit the Dennis Byron show.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. Good morning. First and foremost, thank you for joining the show. In just a few minutes, ladies and gentlemen, the opening statements will begin in the trial of Karmelo Anthony. And before I get on screen, I have a special treat for you guys this morning as well. Okay. All right, we're here. So, ladies and gentlemen, there's been a lot of talk leading up to this trial. And yesterday, it reached a point where many people have been chiming in about the jury selection, the process, and who was ultimately seated. I'm in New York, so you're going to hear a lot of sirens. I'm not in the South right now. I'm right in the middle of the city, so you might hear sirens. With that said, I have a very special guest on. I want to bring her up. She's invited me to her show many times. And I want to pay homage back to her because she's one of the smartest people I know in the legal profession, legal analyst, former host of opening statements, Court TV host Julie Grant. She's here. She's giving me a few minutes at a time. She doesn't have a lot of time, so I'm going to ask her as many questions as I can ask her. Then I'm bringing other guests in, but I appreciate you guys being here. Ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, I don't think she'll get on camera right now, but ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Julie Grant.
Dennis Byron, good morning. It's so great to be on with you.
Oh, it's so great to have you. You know, so let me let people know who's talking right here. There you go, Julie.
That's when I'm all cleaned up. I look like that. Nobody wants to know what I'm looking like this morning. Running around.
Listen, you look great about it. But listen, I know you have a busy schedule. You're familiar with this case to a degree because you heard about when it happened. Yesterday, jurors were seated, 12 jurors plus 6 alternates. Unfortunately or fortunately, there's no people of color on this jury. What I need for you today to do is we're going to talk about the challenge that was raised at the during the jury selection, and you're pretty familiar with this because you're also a former prosecutor, and you can speak to this, and you've seen these type of challenges before. And I'm speaking of the Batson challenge. Can you tell the people, explain to the people what is the Batson challenge and why do lawyers raise this issue in their process?
Sure, Dennis, I'd be glad to. So the Batson challenge is a tool that allows lawyers to object if they think that the opposing counsel might be striking someone for a reason that pertains to a protected classification. So legally, things like race, gender, ethnicity, all protected under the law. So when you have strikes that you use, and it's important to differentiate between the types of strikes. When you're in trial, you get strikes for cause, or challenges for cause, you might hear them referred to as, which is sometimes when somebody has some hardship that no doubt would excuse them from being on the let's say, for instance, maybe someone has a disability where they can't hear, or someone has a financial hardship. Those types of challenges are called cause. And then there's this separate category where we see the Batson challenges sometimes arise, and that's with the peremptory strikes. So depending on the case, whether you got a misdemeanor case or a felony case, lawyers get a certain amount of these peremptory challenges or peremptory strikes to use. And basically, it's a strike that you can use to get rid of anybody for any reason, as long as it's not a discriminatory reason. So, for instance, Dennis Byron, you're one of the best dressers I've ever met. You always look immaculate. Let's say if there's a lawyer who says, I'm going to strike Dennis because I don't like his shoes. Well, okay, that's actually a legitimate non-discriminatory reason. That's fine. So it could be anything under the sun. It could be the way someone looks at you. I mean, I've struck people who, when they come into the jury room, I'm watching them as a lawyer. And if I look at somebody who looks annoyed, like they don't want to be there, like they're frustrated with the process, I don't want them on my jury. And so I could say, hey, look, I'm using a strike. And the reason is because they looked at me funny. They looked annoyed at me. I'm afraid they're going to take it out of me for my case. That's all fine. Where it gets problematic is if an attorney is engaging in a pattern of something that appears discriminatory. And my understanding is this came up yesterday because of what the objecting attorney perceived as a pattern of striking Black jurors. And Dennis, correct me if I'm wrong, 3 Black female prospective jurors who were all teachers, right?
That's correct. That's correct.
For that. So what happens with Batson is the objecting attorney has to spot a pattern. And so it sounds like this objecting attorney did and said, wait a minute, I need to stop and raise an objection to the court here because I just noticed 3 Black women being struck. And I want to know why. So in the law, we call that a prima facie challenge. So there's an inference that are these because they're Black or because they're women? Could be either, could be both. That's a valid challenge. So that attorney, a valid Batson challenge. Under the law, then, if the judge, there's perhaps something there to be explored, the judge will let the opposing attorney articulate the reason. And so it's got to be a legitimate, non-discriminatory reason. It cannot be because they are women. It cannot be because they're Black. That is so improper. And so the attorney, and my understanding here is said these are 3 teachers. And the problem I have is not with them being women or not with them being Black. It's with them being teachers. And this involves a school-related factual pattern. And I'm afraid that they won't be fair, whatever they said. I didn't hear it. I'm just getting this secondhand and what I was able to ascertain before coming on your show, Dennis. So after that race neutral reason, gender neutral reason is articulated with them being teachers, then it goes back to the objecting attorney. The objecting attorney gets a chance to say to the judge, well, I want to prove pretext. And this is where, Dennis Byron, it gets so tricky. So by pretext, what we legally mean is a false excuse. So, and this is where it gets really hard in Batson because anybody can articulate a legitimate non-discriminatory reason, right? Someone could say, oh, I don't like the person's shoes. That's why I use that example, and here it very well may be, I don't know that attorney. I wasn't in that jury room, don't know what the strategy is, but it could be that legitimately they don't want 3 teachers on the jury. That very well could be. But it goes to the person making the objection to prove that this is a pretext, that the teacher reason is allegedly a false excuse to get rid of these 3 women and that there's actual discrimination going on. Here, my understanding is the court did not find there was any pretext. The judge, when I say court, I mean the judge didn't find that this was a false excuse. The judge found it to be a legitimate reason based on the fact that this is a school-related event that's going to be coming into question. So I hope that answers your question. It's like a ping pong with Batson. It's 3 prongs back forth, and then the judge ultimately can either reinstate those jurors. The judge could have reinstated them all and put them all on the jury, or the judge could even strike the whole pool if the judge thought that this attorney is engaging in improper discrimination with strikes. So here my understanding is the judge did neither, and here we are with an all-white jury.
Okay, so if an appellate court later determines that a Batson violation occurred during the jury selection, what impact can that have on conviction and the overall integrity of the trial process?
Oh, that's an excellent question. Well, and I have to be fully honest with you, Dennis. I am a trial attorney. I am not an appellate attorney, so I have never handled an appeal involving Batson.
Okay.
Because it's something, so last thing I want to do is give a wrong answer on your show because I don't want to misinform your amazing viewers. Let me do some research on that and get back to you because I don't know that anything could ever come back based on, I don't know.
Okay. That's fair. But then you probably can answer this one. So many people confuse the constitutional rights to a jury of one's peers with the idea that a jury must racially mirror the defendant. Legally speaking, what does the Constitution actually require, and where do people often misunderstand that principle?
Oh, that's an excellent question. And so the Constitution provides for all of us, if we're ever put in the position of being on trial, that we would be judged by a jury of our peers. But the Constitution doesn't specifically lay out what our peers are. And for all of us, that's different, right? I mean, that's completely different for every American citizen. And that's where it gets also tricky because geography, population, all of that plays in. And so, for instance, if this area in Texas is predominantly a white area, then a defendant like Karmelo Anthony is in a situation where peers are not people who necessarily look like him. And so that's where a lot of people have trouble with it. And I could thank God I've never been a criminal defendant myself, but I can only imagine what it's like when you're hoping to get a fair shake. At the end of the day, all you want is fairness, and it's up to everyone, the judge, to protect that, the jury that's chosen to protect that fairness. And so I also think we can't make an assumption that the jury would be unfair for a racial reason. We're not saying that at all. I want everybody listening to understand that's not where we're going with this, but just that we're recognizing it can feel uncomfortable for any defendant if they're not speaking with people who aren't of their age or of their race or maybe even of their gender. Where we all feel most comfortable is particular to all of us. So I think there's nothing in the Constitution that's saying, oh, Karmelo Anthony must have a black jury, or it's not a jury of his peers. No, it's not what the Constitution says. However, I could understand very well if Karmelo Anthony feels uncomfortable and if his legal team wanted more diversity on the jury for whatever reason. So I get that. I can certainly see the case from both sides.
So I'm thinking right now, why wasn't a change of venue asked for during pretrial? Because this could have been foreseen based on the demographics of Collins County. Why do you think that? And we don't know that because there's a gag order in this case where we don't have access to pretrial motions. We don't even know if there's a change of venue was requested. But in a situation like this, from my experience, when you have this type of demographics, lawyers typically ask for, not necessarily they get it, a change of venue. Do you think that would have been a strategy, and we don't know if that was played or not?
Right. Excellent question, Dennis. That's an excellent question you're bringing up. And I'm so glad you emphasized that there's so much about this case that we in the public just aren't privy to because of the gag order. And I remember very early on, a quick aside, but this is also important to know. I remember the police speaking out early on because apparently there was a lot of misinformation being put out online. And I know you and I have seen it on many cases in the recent past where people will go online and try to start campaigns and spread false information. It's pretty wild how justice can be subverted that way. And I don't even know what was being said online. I wasn't looking. I don't live in that community, I'm in Atlanta like you, my friend, even though I know you're in New York now, but different community. And so I don't know what was being said on their blogs or wherever, but it was concerning enough that law enforcement spoke out and said to the public, everybody's getting amped up about this. Nobody knows the facts. And these people spreading the misinformation aren't um privy to all the case information that we are. Everything is going to come out, be patient. And so my understanding is the gag orders must have been imposed shortly thereafter on the parties to the cases so that everything would be cleanly tried in the courtroom. So bravo to everyone trying to do things the right way and ensure justice. And as far as the change of venue goes, it's interesting, Dennis, because in order for that to be granted, there has to be proof, undeniable proof, presented to the court that an individual could not get a fair trial in the jurisdiction in which the case is set to be tried. So that raises an interesting question of, well, can or can't Karmelo Anthony get a fair trial here? Because we can't assume that because the jury is all white, that they're not going to be fair to him. That would be an unfair assumption. The court can't make that.
And
However,
I don't mean to cut you off, but before you got on, you and I spoke, and I told you years ago, I covered a case 20 something years ago where it was an all white jury, black defendant, and they acquitted him of all counts.
right.
So,
Right. Great
that was
point.
Cobb County.
Good
So,
example.
there are variables at play. And what are some of the tests that a court will use to decide whether or not a change of venue is warranted?
Sure. So the court's going to look at, is there no way this defendant can get a fair trial? And so the court has to examine everything. I mean, Dennis, we'll see, the question of media publicity that comes into play. The judge would examine that. The judge would examine the jury pool, for instance. Is the pool going to be so small in this county that it's not everybody has heard of the case? Hearing about the case isn't an automatic basis for removal. You can hear about a case. The question is, have jurors made up their minds? So if it is a county where, let's say, it's small, it's the only thing being talked about, everybody is likely to come in and say, look, I've already made a decision. There's no way you can convince me otherwise. You can't have those people. So the judge would look at all of that. And usually these are, to your point, litigated pretrial in very extensive motions that we're not privy to, where the lawyers will lay out the facts like the population size, how much media publicity has there been? Has there been anything in the media that's been, like a piece where there's already been guilt inferred, presumed, or accusations made? So it's kind of a totality of the circumstances approach that the court will take and look at everything and say, okay, well, then, the last thing courts want to do is move a case. So what they may do is say, well, let's change the veneer. What is the face of the jury? So they might say, let's go to another county to pick a jury and bring that jury in to this county in Texas. This way, we're going to stay here where where Austin Metcalf was killed, and let's try the case there. And if they feel that still we won't be able to be fair, then we will go outside the county with a different jury, different county, different court staff, different everything. Really, the only thing staying the same is the judge and the parties and the police and the witnesses. So it's kind of a last resort, Dennis. You really, in judicial economy, you want to ideally try a case where the incident has happened. And there's that presumption that peers are there, that fairness is there. And attorneys have kind of a high bar to try to show that there wouldn't be an opportunity for fairness in that particular.
In our profession, cameras in a courtroom is pivotal to tell the story to the world. In this case, no cameras. Sketch artists, this case is being treated like a federal trial. It was almost no note-taking until I petitioned the court to allow the general public to take notes, written notes, because that was also a prohibition by this judge. It was
Good for you, Dennis. I'm glad you spoke up about that. God bless you, man. You're awesome. You are awesome.
and luckily that the judge, in his infinite wisdom, concurred that it was, and I said, it could possibly be a constitutional issue. Note taking, no judge I've ever encountered told me I couldn't take notes in his courtroom.
Right. He knows you're Dennis Byron. He knows.
Listen, but luckily that is at play. I did get while you and I are talking, there's another attorney that is in the courtroom, and she just texted me. Apparently something happened. So I'm going to try to bring her on the show, and I see what's going on, because it's a blackout for the most part, and see if she can add more to it. I know you have an appointment. I love you to death for being here and always, being like on your A game when you're talking to the people. And I appreciate that. Hopefully I can get you back on during phases of this case.
Yes, I would be happy to come back on again anytime, Dennis, anytime. I'm sorry. Today's one of those days I told you I'm, just running around like a crazy person, but I would be happy to join you again, and I'll do some more digging in on this case, and I'm going to dig into your question that you asked me about, is there an appellate opportunity here?
Right.
That's a great question. I'll come back with it.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Julie. You're wonderful. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure you following. Can they follow you on social media, or you're exclusive to me?
Although we are dear friends, of course, I'll take all the follows and all the love. And once I figure out where I'm landing next, Dennis, you'll be one of the first people to know. So thank you for having me on your show today. It's an honor.
It's an honor having you. Ladies and gentlemen, Julie Grant, legal analyst, former prosecutor, and just a cool person. We actually covered the Diddy trial together, and that's another conversation for another day. With that, I see a lot of comments coming in. I'm getting alerts. I got people inside the courtroom. I don't have to be in every courtroom. I'm gonna do like 90% of you people that are streaming. I'm 90% in these courtrooms. I'm 90% on the 99% on the ground. I decided to act like you guys today and do my show remotely. Okay. Let's see here. Let's see some of the comments. Something else I want to say. I'd like to bring in people that are really interested in this case, and I'm going to drop the link. I'm going to allow you to come in and to discuss it respectfully. I'm not talking about the people that were making racial slurs to me, but you could come up too. I got smoke for you as well, but I don't think I want to do it on this show. But if you want to come up and ask some questions as it relates to this case or other cases that I've covered that involve self-defense, because self-defense is a defense. And I want to say, depending upon what the evidence is, it could be an affirmative defense. And we'll talk about that. Let me go ahead and drop the link real quickly. Hopefully you guys can hear me. Hold on a second, guys. Let me just grab this link here. I love panel discussions with the community and people's viewpoints. You don't necessarily have to be from Texas, but if you are from Texas, I would love for you to come on the show, because you live in the state and you know how your state rolls. So with that, I dropped the link. You can click on either link. You got a camera up. If you're scared to get on camera, then I understand. But and don't say why Julie didn't get on camera, because she has a legitimate reason. And that's why we had a picture. With that, you could come up. I think I have another. Let me call her now, because she's actually texting me. Okay, hold on. Stand by, guys. We're about to go with a call. Meanwhile, you can click on the link. Hello? You are live right now on air. You're live on. Just can you give me an overview of your recap of what happened this morning?
Ain't nothing happened.
Hello?
We can't get in. I need to talk to you off air. It's
Hello?
I can't.
Okay.
I can't
She
talk
might have
to you
mic
right
issues. I
now.
don't know if she can hear me. Let me take her off live. I got another attorney online. She can click on the link, Thelma. Just come in. Click on the link. I'm being joined with Attorney Mom. Good morning, Attorney Mom.
Good morning, Mr. Byron. How are you?
First of all, I like the hat. I would take it from you, but the decorations might not fit my swag today. What's going on?
Thank you. I'm glad you're covering this. This is a very, very important trial. Couple of people are covering it, and I'm enjoying their coverage. You know, our buddy Neek at Night, I'm enjoying her coverage with her uncle.
Okay, well, we're talking about what's happening right now. I love Neek to death, but we're not promoting nobody right now. What do you think about the case itself? Let's talk to me.
Well, I very little. I mean, the judge has done a good job so far from what I've heard. Okay, the judge is keeping control of his courtroom. I thought the questioning and the responses from the jurors were interesting. They were very honest, and even I heard that one of the jurors even challenged the judge. This case is very important in that it shows you the sickness of racism and the impact it has on the psyche. And I don't care what anyone says. When you go into that jury room, you bring your life experiences. Right. And it takes a person that has the emotional intelligence to put aside their biases. And not everybody is skilled to do that. So for the most part, some jurors, they get it right. They come in, they listen, they put aside their biases. But when you have a young black man who killed a white kid, okay, 2 kids, okay, all the biasness is going to come in. And I think about that book and the movie, A Time to Kill, with Samuel Jackson, where the little black girl was raped by some white men. And at the end, the defense attorney had to say, put yourself in the position of this father, because the father, I think, went and killed the men that raped his daughter, the black father. And that's when the juror was able to acquit him of an all-white jury, because they had to put themselves, they have to identify with the defendant.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. Based on the feedback I've received online and based on the coverage of this case, many people are asking important questions. Why would someone carry a knife to a track meet? And as someone who's been in competition, been in sports, I've never personally ever brought a weapon to a competitive event or a sporting event, or for training for that matter, unless there were weapons there already in the whatever.
Did anybody ask who had guns? Did anybody ask who had knives? That was just something he had in his bag. I mean, that's not too far-fetched if you're a fisher. I don't know enough about this young man, but something like that is look at the world we live in right now.
Right. So do you think that question is a legitimate question? Because he did have the legal right to have a knife on him.
The problem I have with all this is that when it comes to the victims, like Trey, I view this young man as a victim, even though he's on trial for a defendant. When it comes to the black man, it's always a problem for them defending themselves. Crawl written. I know it's two totally different, but this man came across state line to protect property that didn't belong to him. That young man had every right to protect himself. Okay, to protect himself. And to me, that's the problem I haven't heard from many of these people. He had every right to protect themselves. And we'll see. I have to wait to see what the testimony is.
Right.
But what has been going online is that they roughed him up. They were like, get up out of here. You know how folks feel like they're territorial. Get up out of here. So I just need to know that what actually happened before I can even give an intelligence.
And today we will learn what the opening is and what the witness, the state will bring forth. Do you think, as a attorney, that him taking a stand in a self-defense case is necessary?
No.
Okay. Why not?
It depends on how he's going to come off. You got to know your client. How's he going to come off at the jury? If he's going to come off arrogant, boastful, that's one thing. If he comes off like the kid he is, and if he comes off as the kid and the jury can see him as what he is, a kid, then that may be good. But he doesn't have the burden of proof, the prosecution. And if you are a skilled attorney, you can prove your case using the prosecutor witnesses.
Okay.
But I know jurors in the back of the mind, they want to hear from the individual. But the individual does not have the burden of proof. He has the right, the constitutional right, to remain silent. That's not his burden. The burden is on the state, and the state alone. And that's what we have to get into. There was a fight. There's no excuse. There's the video, police cam. You got everything you need without him ever having to take the stand.
Okay, so and this is my opinion. My opinion is like everyone else. Everyone has, an opinion. But in this instance, if all the witnesses that were present are pro Metcalf, then it would stand to reason that he has to get on the stand to articulate what was happening in his mind. In his mind, in that moment, what did he see? Who was around him? Was there a fear factor there that wasn't present? Because in order to prove murder in this level, someone says it's not a murder.
He doesn't have a burden. Remember, he does not have the burden.
I didn't say him. I said in order for the state to prove their case, these elements of murder must be there. And he raised, even during the police interrogation, that he was defending himself. So
right. That was enough. That you got it right there. That's your evidence. The state, we gotta make the state work and do its job. But like I said, a skilled defense attorney will tear the case up using their own witnesses.
Okay.
You have a statement from him, and you have it at the time of the incident, not years later or a year later. At the time, what was his state of mind at the time of the incident? He showed contrition. He was concerned about the young man. He asked how he was doing. He only did one poke. It wasn't like he got, it was like enough to get him up off of him.
To move him back. And that may be his argument, that he just wanted to move him back. He didn't, can anyone believe the 17-year-old honor student had intent on murdering? And I think people going in the jury, I think that the people going honestly, they will not conclude that he had the intent or the knowledge that he could kill this person.
And he didn't injure anyone else. He just had enough. They were just enough. Get off of me. And I got to hear the evidence, but it was alleged that he said, don't touch me. Don't touch me. And they, you know how football players are, the ego with the athlete, but we'll see. This is all hearsay. Like I said, until we hear from the witnesses and see the video evidence and all that, I can't say, but on its face, that young man had every right to be where he was and to protect himself. And that's the problem I don't hear enough from any of these people covering the trial.
Right.
What about his right? You know what I mean? Like and I'm sorry that it had to get to this point, okay, where a life was taken, but we got to keep our hands to ourselves. Everybody's not going to allow you to bully them and you walk away. Everybody's not, okay? I don't like bullies. I don't like internet bullies. I don't like bullies in real life. So I'm totally against any type of bullying.
Well, I appreciate you coming on. I want to make room for someone else. Get your hand.
I'm leaving. Goodbye.
Get the hand right, because I know when. Are you from Texas?
I'm from Patterson, New Jersey.
Okay.
This is my son's friend plays for the Dallas Cowboys. So this is his jersey.
Because we New York Knickerbockers.
I know.
We kick butt. And we will do that.
I haven't watched the Knicks since Anthony Mason, Charles Oakley, and Patrick Ewing played. So I'm a fake Knicks fan. I'm a fan now. But I got my Bridges jersey because my married name is Bridges. So I got the Bridges 25 jersey because that's my married name.
Okay.
All right. Well, take care.
We get you back on later on during.
Okay. Take care. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye. It's at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, perspective. I see a lot of you commenting. You can come up. I'm dropping the link again. The link is right there. Click on the link if you agree or disagree with what my guests have said. But again, I like to give people the opportunity to share their thoughts on this, because this trial, when we get a break, which should be in about 2 hours, we should have an update. And I do have, as a matter of fact, I'm gonna put this person. I'm gonna call this person because it doesn't seem like they can't connect from where they are. So you guys, y'all can hold on, and I'm gonna make a call. So stand by. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm trying to verify this, but we have a serious problem with people getting inside the courtroom right now. This is just in. I'm going to verify from someone else real quick. This is, oh my goodness, I don't believe this.
Your call has been forwarded to voice.
Stand by, guys. Looks like there may be a problem at the courthouse. Stand by. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so I was just told that individuals that were on the general public side and trying to gain access to the courtroom was denied access. According to my source, and we got to verify, I'm trying to verify this, there had been a change in the arrangements of access this morning. I don't know if this is factual because it hadn't been confirmed by, well, actually, it has been confirmed. So the people that were lined up this morning to get inside the courtroom, there were supposed to be 24 seats designated for the general public. I'm being told seats were given to members of the press. And again, I'm waiting for confirmation from the official PIO. I just communicated, sent a text to that person, and I'm going to attempt to get them on the phone.
Your call has been forwarded to voicemail.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna have you guys stand by. We're gonna put this on us. We're not ending the live, but you guys can keep logged in or monitoring the live. I just had to make a phone call just to verify some things. So stand by. We'll be right back.
Yeah, from the culture
To the courtroom.
This is truth uncut. From the culture to the courtroom, front row seats when Dennis Byron speaks. History speaks. From the culture to the courtroom, front row seats when Dennis Byron speaks. History speaks from the culture.
No cap, no spin, just facts. If it matters, we cover it. On Shreddy B.I.B. Ooh, Barbara wanna know. Ooh, it's shit the Dennis Byron show.
Yeah, from the culture
To the courtroom.
This is truth uncut. From the culture to the courtroom, front row seats when Dennis Byron speaks. History speaks. From the culture to the courtroom, front row seats when Dennis Byron speaks. History speaks from the culture.
No cap, no spin, just facts. If it matters, we cover it. On Shreddy B.I.B. Ooh, Barbara wanna know. Ooh, it's shit the Dennis Byron show.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I do have an update. I actually have an update. This is why it's important to verify and re-verify. So here's the update. Let me get on camera real quick. Stand up. Okay, so I just confirmed. I don't know where that person got this information from. So my question was, can you confirm whether general public was granted access inside the courtroom? or was additional media credentials given out? Response, yes. More than 24 seats for general public, 9 media seats, 15 prosecution seats, and 15 defense seats. So this is the official statement from the PIO in Collins County. Yeah, I thought that was odd, and I need to verify that. So I don't know why that person said that. Oh my goodness. Interesting. Interesting. All right, guys. Hopefully that clears up that little confusion. Maybe they came in late. I don't know. Okay. You guys can't hear. Put a 1 in the chat if you hear the sound of my voice. Put a 1 in the chat if you can hear the sound of my voice. Someone said you can't hear me. Hold on. Put a 1 in the chat if you can hear the sound of my voice. Okay. Someone just said, I can't hear you, Mr. Byron. I can't hear you. Now you know I got a big ass mouth. Pause. I know you can hear me. So yeah, that was a false alarm. This is why I got to verify, because I thought that was kind of odd. Why would they change that the day of? So I'm gonna read some of your comments. Let's see if anyone here has something to add to the conversation. I see some weird comments here. We're not reading that. Let's see something. Okay. So there's another question people are asking. Did Karmelo Anthony have a duty to retreat? Yes or no? If the statements that are being reported are true, did Austin Metcalf have the right to tell someone they couldn't be somewhere? Did Austin Metcalf have the right to tell someone else they could not be somewhere in a particular area? Did he have the right to do that? Was that a space that they reserved for themselves? And did they have the authority to reserve that space for themselves? Why was it an issue for Karmelo Anthony to be in that space? This is not the 60s, and he doesn't have to get to the back of the bus. So why then would he have to have moved from that area? Because if I go to a basketball game and my ticket puts me smack dead in the center, and I have a prime ticket and I'm going to this game, and I don't look like the people around me, does that mean I can't sit in that section? So what are we talking about here? Because if someone tells me to move out of an area that they have no legal authority to tell me to move, am I going to move? Probably not. Probably not. And what follows that request is on the other person. Because if you unlawfully tell me to do something that I don't have to do, I'm probably not going to do it. But then you make the next move. You see how this works? You make the next move. The aggressor is the one who initiates the contact. The aggressor is the one who initiates the contact. Because I have a rule for self-defense. I don't seek to fight you. I defend myself against you. That's how I was trained. I'm not going to be the aggressor. Even if it started with words, then whoever places physical contact or make the first physical move, that is going to be the provocation necessary for me to defend myself. And I think that would be the human approach to a lot of situations. Do not be the aggressor. Know your role and the role you play. So if you provoke me by way of physical touch, you cannot choose how the other person reacts to your physical touch. That's it. And some people may feel differently. You know, people have, let me just say this, and hopefully this may resonate with some of you. People have trauma that they deal with in life. And any trigger, like an unwanted touch creates a different situation. So you have to respect people's space, their space, meaning this touching someone is a no-no. You don't have the right to put your hands on another human being unless they ask you to put your hands on their person. That is what people are intentionally missing. And you're taught that as a child. Don't put your hands on someone and keep your hands to yourself. And now, couple that with what was this individual believing at the time. Because if someone says, don't put your hand on me, don't touch me, and you say, screw what you're talking about, and you touch me anyway, then you get a reaction. You get a reaction when you place your hands on someone else. And whatever way they decide to handle that situation, they have to deal with that way they handle it ultimately, but you may be the benefactor of how they reacted to you unjustly touching that person. I think many of you can agree with that. If you be honest with yourself, no one has the right to put their hand on someone else. That's first and foremost. No one has the legal right to touch someone that they don't have the right to do. And that's just my opinion. Now, the jurors may see it differently. They may see it differently. I see people saying the most silly thing. He was stealing. He was doing this. You don't know any of that. You don't know what he was there for other than the obvious, to participate in or watch a track meet. And I don't know what the temperature was that day. Maybe he needed to have himself shielded. And maybe that tent didn't belong to anyone but the track meet itself. And could it be possible that he did not want to deal with the sun at that time? I'm just asking questions. It's almost like I walk in a room. There's a seat, empty seat there. I decide to sit in that empty seat. Then you come from nowhere and say, get up out that seat. I was sitting there earlier. No, you're not sitting there now. You know how they say, you move your meat, you lose your seat? So what was the situation. We don't know. We'll find out. The trial's literally closing arguments. Oh, excuse me, open arguments is happening now. We don't know, but we'll learn shortly. We'll learn shortly. Yeah, you're. I don't know where I heard that from growing up. You move your meat, you lose your seat. I know. I think I might have heard that in school somewhere. But yeah, that was one of the things you would take. You know, like listen, this empty seat, no one's sitting there. If I'm on the subway and an elder walks up, older than me, I would give my seat up. I would just give my seat up. But I make the choice in doing that. You don't make the choice in doing that. You don't have the right to tell me to get up out of that seat. Because if you place your hands on me, you may get these feet. So again, perspective. What was going on? How do people, deal with situations? Like what was going on? Okay, someone said, I don't know if that's true. If the school brought their own tent, then that's a different conversation. That's a different conversation. A totally different conversation. If I brought my tent to an event, or in the cases when I do these festivals and I do events and we rent a tent, because these tent rentals are not cheap. So if I rent a tent and I bring in 10 chairs for my guests, and you're not part of my guests, then you got to go. I now own. This is what I rented this space for, this tent and these seats, because you got to rent the seats as well, the tent and the seats, and then for my designated VIP or my designated guests. Then you don't have the right to be in that space. Now you're invading on someone else's space. So that's a different conversation. That's a variable. And that's something that people, will learn during testimony. Who had the right to have that tent there, and was it designated for the people that was there? If that's the case, that poses a problem for the defense. Okay, so I actually have the arrest report. I have the arrest report, and I will post that. As a matter of fact, I can put the arrest report, share the arrest report for those who didn't see it. I do have the arrest report and the indictment. I got the arrest report. Let's see here. I will share the arrest report with you guys for those who didn't see the arrest report. Yeah, I'm going to try to share with you guys right now. Okay, I just airdropped it. Let's see if it'll get over here soon enough. Be more shorty, don't do that. Don't do that. I'm reading something, be more shorty. Don't do that. We're not falling asleep. We are not falling asleep. Be more shorty. Okay, here. Hold on. I'm trying to get the the PDF over to. Oh, hold on. Hold on. Let's see. Okay, I have it. I'm gonna bring it over. Okay, I got the PDF. Stand by. Let me bring it up. Okay. Okay, guys, I'm grabbing the PDF of the police report. Let's see here. I have 20,000 files here. Hold on. Let's see here. Okay. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Karmelo. Okay. Here we go. All right. Here we go, guys. Here's the police report, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see here. I think the redactions have been done. Hold on. Okay, so let's look at the police report. Let's look at the police report here. Okay. We'll look at the statements being raised. Can you guys see that? Let's see here. You guys can see that? Okay. All right. So here's the police report. I'm going to drop the link. Okay, good. If you want to join the stream, you're more than welcome to join the stream. I'm just trying to zoom this in. Moreover, I'm going to grab a tablet and read the police report here. Okay, guys, so I'll make sure you guys can hear me. I'm going to read the narrative. Okay, so here we go. On 4/2/2025 at 1001 hours, 10:01 hours, Staley School Resource Officer E. Cortez heard over the radio dispatch call about a stabbing call at David Koikendou Stadium, located at 6927-A Stadium Lane, Frisco, Collins, Texas. Frisco PD call out a stabbing call. Okay, excuse me. I'm sorry, this thing is getting a little truncated. Notes indicated that an athlete was stabbed. The suspect was reported as being a black male wearing a gray hoodie and blue sweatpants. I immediately left my office and ran across the Staley Middle School parking lot at 6927 Stadium Lane, Frisco, Texas, towards a southwest entrance into the stadium. As I entered the stadium, 2 high school age students informed me that the victim was on the north end of the stadium by the bleachers under a Memorial High School tent. I did not identify these students. Next, I proceeded towards the north end of the stadium, the visitor side, on foot. As I got closer to the north end, I could see Memorial High School tent with multiple individuals under the tent. Once I arrived onto the north side bleachers, an adult man who was on the track pointed out the suspect. I was not able to identify that witness. The individual that was pointed out to me was a black male wearing a gray hooded sweater and dark colored Nike pants. The suspect at this point was on the track on the north end. There was a chain link fence that separated me from the suspect. I gave the suspect instructions to keep his hands up in the air. During this time, the suspect said verbally out loud, I was protecting myself. It should be noted that I had not questioned him about the incident when he made that comment. So the reason why he put that in the report is, was he Mirandized? Was he read his rights? So this resource officer wanted to make that clear in his report that he didn't ask for a statement to be made to him. Rather, Anthony made the statement himself. And that's important because had it happened the other way, that statement would likely not be able to be used as evidence in the trial. And we don't know, was that an argument being made by the lawyers? And this is important because if this was an exclusion of evidence request because maybe his rights were violated and he was questioned before he was read his Miranda, then probably that wouldn't have came in. So that was noted that he put that in it. Obviously, they prepared this report and then typed it up. I asked him if he had any weapons, and he said no. I patted him down for weapons while we were walking along the fence, and I did not locate any on his person. I instructed the male to continue walking along the fence, which he complied. Now, so it does appear, you could correct me if I'm wrong, there was a fence that separated the resource officer and Mr. Anthony. So he wouldn't be able to pat him down if he wasn't alongside the officer. At first, I thought maybe he was on the other side of the fence. Okay, so which he complied towards an area where there was an opening in the fence that led the suspect off the track. While walking him off the track, the suspect also said he put his hands on me. I then detained the suspect in handcuffed behind his back, and had him sit down on the ground. Officer A. Ricci had arrived on the scene at that time. I conducted another pat down of his person and then searched his person after he gave me consent. No, wait a minute, hold on. Okay, so he didn't have any. So this would be a problem, I think. Not really. It was a safety issue, but then you didn't really need consent at that point because you searched him, pat him down for weapons. He declared that he didn't have any weapons on him, but you pat him down for safety anyway. You're not going to take this guy's word, especially when someone has just been stabbed. So you patted him down, but he gave you consent to do a more exploratory search, apparently, to see whether or not he did have anything on him other than weapons. No weapons were located while the suspect sat on the ground. I advised that I had the alleged suspect. The suspect then responds and say, I'm not alleged. I did it. Now, hold on. This is in the police report. Will the testimony be later on that he never said I did it, but there's eyewitnesses. So I don't know if that's significant, but if he said I did it, we can believe that he did it. He said I did it. And this is what the officer said. I don't know if he had a body camera on. I don't know, ladies and gentlemen, those in Texas, is a body camera required does the resource officers in Texas high schools wear body cameras? I don't know if that's the case, but if that's the case, then anything that this resource officer is saying can be substantiated with body camera. That could be substantiated. That could definitely be substantiated. I almost think, okay, someone said, yes, body camera is required. Okay, so that's it. He had okay, thank you for that response. Okay, hold on, guys. Hold on. I conducted another pat down of his person and then search his purse. Okay, we got that. I'm saying I must have lost. Okay, hold on. Okay, while the suspect was in the back seat, I noticed fresh blood on his left middle finger. I verbally acknowledged that I saw the blood out loud so that it would be captured on my body worn camera. Question answered. He did have a body camera on. It should be noted that the suspect asked me, is he going to be okay, while he was in the back seat. And that shows he felt some level of compassion as to what he did. Some of you may say, no, he didn't feel compassion. No, he did. He asked. Because there are many times that murder suspects, don't say anything. This is a time where he said, he asked the resource officer, is he going to be okay? That's significant. He did care about whether or not the victim was all right. He didn't know at the time that he killed the person. It's my belief he didn't know at the time he killed the person. I'm laughing because some of the comments, but we're going to leave that alone. Okay, hold on. I then identified the suspect. He provided his name and date of birth verbally as Karmelo Anthony, black male, with a date of birth of, and that's redacted, which I ran through FPD dispatch. Officer J. Hancock arrived on the scene and remained with me and the suspect at this point. Karmelo was then checked via e-school database for FISD, whatever that is, custody, FISD students, to also confirm his identity. Also, they checked with the school system to see whether or not he is who he say he is. The identifying information he provided matched the individual I had in custody, Karmelo Anthony. Next, I was advised by Sergeant Holland to transport the suspect to the Frisco PD jail. Officer Hancock and I transported him to the FPD jail. Again, I did not question Karmelo about the incident. And this is important. This cop keeps saying this in the report. So any issue of taking statements without Mirandizing him is not something that he wanted to deal with, because he read him he didn't ask any questions. Now, if someone volunteers questions on their own in this or any similar instances, they will likely be omitted because these questions were voluntarily made. Now, once he Mirandizes him, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say will be used against you in the court of law, and they will use that against you in the court of law if you say things after you've been Mirandized. He didn't know this. Do you think he would have said anything had he had that knowledge of his Miranda? No, he spoke in the moment, heat of passion, and that doesn't negate the fact that these statements were made while he was 17. I remained with the jail staff the entire time that he was changed over. The clothes that Karmelo was wearing was placed in a FPD paper evidence bag. The clothes remained in possession from this point on. Upon Karmelo being placed into a jail cell, I continued to keep possession of his clothes. I returned to my patrol number 2412 along with Officer Hancock, which was in the FPD's Sally Port, and placed Karmelo's clothes in the back trunk area. Was the bag sealed? Did it get contaminated? Okay. I drove patrol vehicle number 2412 out of the Sally Port and parked the squad car in the FPD patrol parking area. Karmelo's clothes remained in the trunk area of the vehicle 2412. FPD crime scene. Hold on a second. Okay, so the he parked the car in the Sally Port FPD parking patrol area. Karmelo's clothing remained in the trunk area of the vehicle 2412. FPD crime scene technician K. Dillard then took possession of Karmelo's clothes. I added my body-worn camera to the case. I have no further information to report. So this is what this officer did. And there's other statements that have been made. And if you want me to read the other statements, just put a one. It's a lot of stuff here. Now, I have 7 pages. I don't know how many people were aware of these statements and or narrative that these cops have written. There's also a supplemental report from another officer and their statements. Okay, so here we go. This supplemental date 4/2/2025 at 17:04 hours. Officer Reese was wearing a full Frisco police uniform, and I was operating a fully marked Frisco police vehicle. At about that time, I was dispatched to the report of a stabbing at David Coy Kindle Stadium, address 8825 7th Street, Frisco, Collin County, Texas. Frisco PD dispatch advised an athlete had been stabbed. The suspect was described as a black male wearing a gray hooded sweatshirt and blue sweatpants. I responded code 3 from the area of El Dorado Parkway and Frisco Street. I arrived on the scene at approximately 10:05 hours. When I arrived on the scene, I approached the track field area and saw Officer Cortez kneeling next to a black male wearing a gray hooded sweatshirt and blue sweatpants. The male, later identified as Karmelo Anthony, was in handcuffs, was escorted on the sidewalk by the entrance to the track. As I approached the Officer Cortez stated that Anthony was the alleged suspect. Anthony then made a spontaneous statement and stated, I am not alleged. I did it. I'm not alleged. I did it. Officer Cortez conducted a pat search of
Anthony's person to ensure Anthony did not have any weapons and found nothing of evidentiary value. Well, didn't have other officers do a search as well? But anyway, I digress. Officer Cortez and I then walked Anthony to the pre-searched patrol vehicle, and Anthony was seated in the rear driver's side compartment of my patrol vehicle. And the reason why cops do this is because, they typically search the vehicle once it's back in service, meaning if they had a job and that job, they had a suspect or suspects in the back, anything could be hidden in the seats, a gun, drugs, weapons, any sort. They have to clear that. That's part of the protocol in putting your car back into service and you're using it. So they just wanted to make it clear in their report that anything that was found in the car after he got out, it would be his. So this is the reason why they had to search the car. And if you disagree with me, ask your local cop. Let's see here. Okay. So this is interesting. Here we go, guys. Hold on. While walking to my patrol vehicle, Anthony made another spontaneous statement and asked if what happened could be considered self-defense. I replied by telling Anthony I did not know what happened. It should be noted that the in-car camera in my patrol vehicle was activated prior to Anthony being placed in my patrol vehicle. So this is one of the videos that they're going to show during the trial. He activated his camera. It seems like these cops did everything right from this report because it's going to be supported by video evidence. From the body cam that was worn by the first resource officer, Cortez, and also by the Reese who showed up and assisted his colleague in securing Anthony and also doing a second pat down, search for weapons, and then placing them back, then place them into the vehicle. And these spontaneous statements were caught on camera, and that's likely going to be played in front of the jury. So the tone, the mannerism, and the way the jury is going to view this video, it's going to say a lot. It's going to say a lot. And him asking the cop whether or not this is self-defense, that's an interesting statement. Can anyone tell me why do you think that's an interesting statement? If that's caught on body camera, why is that him asking this spontaneous question to the cop? Why do you guys think that will be crucial in this case? A 17-year-old asking a cop, is that self-defense? We'll come back to, let's see if you guys can post the answer to that. Okay, so while Officer Cortez assisted Anthony into the patrol vehicle, I noticed Anthony had blood on his left middle finger. I grabbed my department-issued digital camera and took a photograph of Anthony's hand. I later uploaded the photograph to the crime scene folder under the case number. Officer Cortez remained with my patrol vehicle and Anthony while I provided assistance with the scene security. Nothing further from this officer. So we already have an account by two officers. Two officers giving their account that likely can be supported by the body camera and in-car dash cam. And from this report, there were several witnesses interviewed. If you guys want to hear more of this report, please put a 1 in the chat, because we can stop it right here. But there's a lot more here. So put a 1 in the chat if you want me to continue with this report. This is getting very interesting here for those who haven't been covering or following this case. Okay, so here we go. Here we go. We're on page 3 now, ladies and gentlemen. On Wednesday, April 2nd, 2025, at around 10:01 hours, Frisco Police Department officers were dispatched to Frisco Independent School District, FISD, David Coy Kendall Stadium at 6927 Stadium Lane, number A, Frisco, Collin County, Texas, in reference to a stabbing victim call. Frisco Police Department Emergency Communications was receiving an emergency call regarding an athlete that was stabbed. The original, okay, they have some spelling errors here. That's why I'm lagging here. The originally unknown assailant was a black male wearing a gray hoodie and blue sweatpants, and also had a goatee and short hair. Karmelo had a goatee. He had one of those goatees on. I got a goatee too. I know that's not important, but yeah, 17. I don't think I had anything here on my face. But anyway, it's what they put in the milk. I don't even drink milk anymore. And short hair. The subject was possibly wearing Centennial High School attire, as it was believed he was a student there for the sporting event. This had all taken place on the visitor's side of the stadium, north side, and the victim was under the Memorial High School tent in the bleachers. At around this same time, school resource officer SRO Cortez arrived on scene and began assisting the victim, trainers, and the other parties. Officer Cortez also advised on the radio that he also had the suspect. Sergeant Otis was working the 50 section of the sergeant, wherever that is. He was in full Frisco Police Department uniform with distinct patches and a badge and a police duty belt. He was also in a marked Frisco Police Department patrol vehicle. 2315 is the vehicle number. He was relatively close to the call and placed himself on it at around 10:02 hours and responded to the call with his patrol vehicle's overhead emergency lights and sirens activated. He arrived to this call at around 10:06 hours. Sergeant Otis. So these cops are all going to testify. They're all, the way this report is written, I can only assume the police are going to be leading with testimony and this is from my experience covering trials. Usually they lead with the police evidence and then go into the testimony of eyewitnesses. That's usually the way these cases go. And just reading the narrative, this is a blueprint for a prosecutor to follow in calling their first witnesses. So if we to believe that these cops will testify, we have to believe that it will likely go in this order. We're not going to bring the sergeant as the first witness to testify when the school safety officer, Cortez, was the first one on the scene and ultimately apprehended Mr. Anthony. Then we have Cortez. So we do our flow chart. We have Cortez, we have Reese, and then we have Sergeant Otis. So our flow chart would likely be top to bottom. And this, if I had to create a flow chart, I can create a flow chart that has a horizontal of law enforcement, or just everything's vertical. It all depends on how you want to, lay this out. I'm already plotting it, just putting it in my mind how I would lay it out. Okay. Hold on, guys. Sergeant Otis. He was relatively close to the call and placed himself on it around 10:02 and responded to the call with his patrol vehicle, overhead emergency lights, and sirens activated. He arrived to the call around 10:06 hours. Sergeant Otis arrived to the stadium and began walking up to the location. At around this time, Officer Cortez and Officer Reese were walking the suspect away from the stadium. The suspect was crying hysterically. Please see the other involved officers' narratives for their involvement. So he's referring to the last two officers, that would be Cortez and Reese. This was in parentheses. Sergeant Otis walked up to the visitor bleachers and observed the victim being treated by Frisco Fire Department, FFD personnel, and also the athletic trainers. The weather began to turn, and it began to be heavily downpour rain. So it was raining. Okay. At this time, some of the Frisco staff moved the memorial tent to cover the victim and the FFD personnel. FFD personnel. Sergeant Otis began using his city-issued phone to snap crime scene photos to preserve as much of the scene as possible due to the weather and the large gathering of people that were involved in the incident. Other officers began to set up a crime scene with tape, moving non-essential personnel out of the immediate area. The officers on scene were informed that the knife that was used was tossed and was still believed to be somewhere close. Okay, I'm gonna pause it right there. Does anyone think him tossing this knife creates a problem for him? Does anyone believe him tossing this knife creates a problem? Because he ran off, he tossed the knife, but if the knife was used because you felt I'm just thinking outside the box. If you're using a knife to defend yourself and you believe these people pose a threat, why then toss the knife away? Why not keep the knife in your possession if it's a protection? If you have the knife to defend yourself because you felt a threat was being made against you by these individuals, why then toss the knife away if that's the only thing you have to protect yourself? Maybe I'm thinking too far ahead of myself. But tossing a knife that you're using to protect yourself doesn't give me the strong inclination that that knife was, I don't know. Okay. Or maybe he tossed the knife because he felt like it was, I don't know, was a knife there. I'm literally reading this and I'm thinking, like, okay, am I wrong to think that? And maybe, because I know, listen, I don't carry knives, but if I know a pack of people are on my ass, I'm not throwing the knife away because I don't know what you got on you.
I don't know what you got. I don't know what you have. So why am I going to throw the only thing I have? Because clearly I'm not ready to use these hands. So I'm not going to throw the only thing I have in my possession to protect myself. But I could be wrong. I could be wrong. And maybe people in this situation, you know, because when you throw something away, it's why you're trying to hide something. That gives, ladies and gentlemen, please do not be mad at me. But I'm thinking, like, what would I do in a situation like that? What would I do in a situation like that? I don't know. Anyway, guys. The officers on the scene were informed that the knife that was used was tossed and was still believed to be somewhere close. Eventually, one of the witnesses said they remember seeing it on the bleachers still. Wait a minute. So he didn't toss the knife. If the knife is on the bleachers, hold on. This gets good. Officer Scholes was able to locate the knife. It was located between row. Okay, so he didn't toss the knife. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, he did not toss the knife, so to speak. He didn't toss the knife because if he he dropped the knife. He was running scared. He was trying to get the hell up out of there. They on his ass. Well, they weren't. So he didn't hide the knife. He used it and dropped the knife on the bleachers. That's what happened. Allegedly. And we don't know what he's going to come and say. You see how this thing can go? Because initially, we heard tossing the knife. Tossing the knife gives me the inclination that he's trying to hide the murder weapon. But he didn't know at the time it was a murder weapon. But in this instance, he used what he had and dropped it out of fear. That's what you can get from that as well. If you guys are following me, put a 1 in the chat. Honestly, if you believe my theory of this, put a 1 in the chat because we want to know if my theory meets the evidence. If my theory meets the evidence, then this would be indicative of someone reacting in the heat of the moment. Because I'd be darn sure I'm not dropping a knife. And again, he's 17 years old. It's not like he's a criminal. How would most people would have handled that? If they had the mala in se, the criminal mind, then they probably would have kept that knife. Okay, here we go. Sergeant Otis assisted in persisting in preserving the immediate crime scene as much as possible, while the other personnel tended to the victim and eventually transported him. At around this time, Officer Wetzel, so we have 4 now. We have 4 officers now on the scene. We have Cortez, Reese, Sergeant Otis, and now we have Officer Wetzel, who will be taking the stand as well. I would think that he would probably be taking a stand as well. Oh, and I also see a lieutenant. Well, hold on. We're not going to get there yet. Hold on, ladies and gentlemen. Officer Wetzel had the crime scene log and began logging the individuals on the call
to the best of his abilities. Lieutenant Crawford and Pemberton relieved Sergeant Otis of the scene. So now we have 6 officers. We have a sergeant, we have a lieutenant, and we have someone working alongside the lieutenant. We have 6 law enforcement right now on the scene. The lieutenant has relieved Sergeant Otis. Lieutenant Crawford and Pemberton relieved Sergeant Otis of the scene. Sergeant Otis went back to the police department to download the body cam and the photos he took with the city issue phone. Sergeant Otis' city issue phone had a total of 33 photos that were used to document the incident scene. During the download, the initial photos formatting was incompatible with the crime scene folder. He re-downloaded the photos that he took, and they were able to save properly for preservation of evidence. At this time, there is nothing further to add to this report. Okay, hold on. We got another page. Okay, so we have crime scene tech. We have someone that came in to log in the evidence. We had the lieutenant who relieved Sergeant Otis with Pemberton. They downloaded the 33 images. Apparently, the 33 images file format wasn't compatible. Then they re-downloaded it. That's probably a technical issue, because they've done this before. So now we at this account, we still have several more pages of this. Are you guys, put a 1 in the chat if you follow along what is happening. Put a 1 in the chat. If you want me to continue, please put a 1 in the chat, because this is getting more detailed for people that have not followed this case throughout. Okay, so we know. Wait, listen, calm down, man. We won't get to the statement. When we get to the statements, calm down. I need to give commentary, please. So we know that based on just these 6 cops, because they're going to be examined and they're going to be cross-examined, and there may be a rebuttal to it's going to go back and forth until they're done with each witness. So I can only conclude that the law enforcement will likely testify today. There's no reason why you put the law enforcement in last. We're not going to just go to the witnesses, because we got to see what was done. This is a roadmap, and we're going to try to follow it to the best of our ability based on this police report. Because this police report, we're on page 3 of a 7-page report. So this report clearly was prepared post incident they had their, and I don't know if there will be a request to see the police blotter or where they take the notes on, because you have to take notes to compile your narrative. So I don't know if they're going to require that to happen. Oh, so someone said you do put the police close to the last. Well, I've covered many cases where the police were not the last. But a strategy also could be put in the most crucial witness first to have an impact. But I've seen cases where it happens both ways. We're going to pause at page 3, and then I'm going to drop this. I'm going to drop the link if you want to come up real quick. Hold on, guys. Stand by.
Okay, I dropped the link. We're gonna finish the other part of this report because this is getting interesting. Because now you have at least 6 cops that will testify, and you're gonna have the witnesses. Black, you got to get on camera. Black, turn your camera on. Turn your camera on. I see you there.
Okay, bro, calm down.
Hey, I hear you. You're on the stage.
All right, 1 second. 1 second, sir.
Okay. We are going to continue the police report, but Black, need you here now. Come on, Black, hit that camera button. You got to do hair and makeup. Sound like a guy. You ain't got to do all that.
Yeah, but I do have to put on a t-shirt.
Oh. You're telling me you're listening to me with no t-shirt on? Whoa, players.
First of all, what does that have to do with anything? Is that germane to what I'm about to say? How's it going?
What's up, brother? I want you to get closer to the mic. I want to be able to hear you clearly.
I'm wearing an earpiece. Can you not hear me?
I can hear you, but it sounds a little muffled. Go ahead, talk to me, brother. Talk to me.
Okay, hold on. Let me make sure the audio is right. Check. Hello?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right, let me stop moving around too. That'll help.
That will help. Okay, hey Tyler. Good morning, Tyler.
Hey, how you doing this morning, Dennis?
Good. Okay, yeah, I see you, Tyler. I see you're in the sun. I see you. We in the Bahamas. Where you at?
No, sir. I'm in Wilmington, North Carolina this morning.
Okay. So stand by, Tyler. Okay, Black, tell me what's your thoughts on what you heard so far?
One thing you were saying that they put on the police sometimes first. I mean, yeah, that happens sometimes. I mean, there's different strategies you can use, of course, but primarily what they want to do is they want to get the witnesses there to establish the timeline and also to put the jury instantly into the situation.
Which I just said. I think I said that when you were coming on. There's a strategy depending upon the type of case. So, for example, I covered the YSL case involving Young Thug. They led with their witnesses, then they brought their police. They kind of sprinkled the police in and out of the case to provide the support to the witnesses' statement that were non law enforcement.
Yeah, they usually put the police reports and the medical reports and the autopsies and things like that towards the end because, for one, it's not as interesting as it would be as hearing witness testimony. And I'm not saying that it's exclusive to that, but primarily generally you want to start in the situation, in the scenario.
Okay. Hey, hold on 1 second, Black. Tyler, come up. Tyler?
Sorry about that. Sorry, adjusting some camera stuff.
Okay. What would you like to add to this?
Well, I'll start by saying I was very surprised this morning when I saw the police report or read the police report that you just went over. I was puzzled at why I hadn't seen this and read this because I saw a lot of the chat comments that were flowing in were saying, "Hey, this has been out." So a lot of that information, and I maybe I jumped in late. Did we go over more than one officer's report, or was it just the one that you read?
Well, no. Well, this is a narrative and a supplemental. So the supplemental contains all the officers' account of what happened. So each time I read a page, it was from, for example, from Cortez to the school safety resource officer. Then we went to Reese. Then we went into the next officer and next officer. So we have like 4 more pages.
It's a arresting report. It's simply like a full compilation of all the people involved, and
that's what This is a police arrest report. So this is they have obviously this was done post everything happening. So this is a compilation of the officers there. because I don't think that they would create, and this is not the practice to create multiple arrest reports. You need one report with everyone's, with all the police officers, what they did. But Tyler, what were you not aware of prior to this report coming out from my platform?
Well, I had read no description from any on-scene law enforcement as far as he described walking Mr. Anthony off of the field, and a couple of statements that he said. I was very puzzled that I was just now reading any of that, because this is a case I thought I was following a little closer than I was. And I've enjoyed a lot of the commentary. I stumbled upon you yesterday. You did an interview with a young woman who I believe was actually going into the courthouse for this trial. It was very surprising to me that the officer, he put a comment in there. He said, I have the alleged suspect. Karmelo immediately said, I'm not alleged, I did it. But he was very quick to present to the officer, hey, I was attacked. He put his hands on me, and I believe he said I told him not to. I was not aware that any of that was in a report that was available for us to read already.
So what was new to me was that this spontaneous statement that was made, according to the officer, that he said was this self-defense?
Yes, sir. And that's probably maybe you can only imagine the nerves that were running through Mr. Anthony's head in the moment. You make a quick decision like that where you kind of he probably spent more time thinking about what he did after doing it than he did before it. So you can only imagine how many questions he probably really wanted to ask in that moment. But it was nice to read that and hear you go over it, and just hear a couple new things as we follow along with this.
So I think that this would be a roadmap, obviously, for the prosecution to follow, and obviously they have their investigators, and they're probably going to ask more specific questions that these cops did not ask, because they're only getting a overview of the situation as responding officers. But when the investigators from both the defense and the prosecution start talking to each witness, now they're going to create their strategies based on what these witnesses are saying. So to Black's point, the way they lead is going to be based on who has more of the highlights that will keep the jurors focused. And I've seen that in the YSL as well. Black,
right. So you're saying we'll step into like a less subjective approach where they present more of an actual narrative to what has happened, rather than an objective, here's what happened when I showed up,
right,
and what I saw.
Right.
Well, that to be honest though, I'm just okay. So I'm a paralegal, so I've been in court cases. I've done criminal, family, intellectual law. I've done a bunch, right? So, and I'm not saying I'm an expert. This is not legal advice or anything. This is just for educational purposes. But what I'm saying is, like, that stuff that happened afterwards, yeah, it does have a little bit to do with it, but the primary thing is what happened in the situation and what caused it to happen. Sure, we can look at things like consciousness of guilt, uh, you know, by him throwing the knife. I mean, but that could easily be explained because in a traumatic event, yeah, you might run. You have flight, or fear. I mean, or flee. Or freeze.
I would
Excuse
have to
me.
agree.
And so
I don't
and
think the
so
throwing of the knife is significant.
that happens though. But it can show consciousness of guilt. But the fact that it's not very clear what it is, so it's not going to be weighed heavily. Now, what will be weighed heavily, which is probably going to save Carmelo many, many years in jail. He did something which what I wouldn't recommend is make um, spontaneous comments, because they can be held against you in court. You don't have to be Mirandized because the officer is not asking questions to figure out what's going on. I mean, other than just initially to know what's going on, he's not asking more and more questions where you need to be Mirandized and be made aware of your rights. So by him saying, "Hey," he, I told him don't touch me, and he touched me, and I'm not alleged or anything. So if you do want to look at the consciousness of guilt from a negative aspect of him throwing the knife, you also got to look at it in the positive aspect that he, with his frame of mind, regardless of what people feel, what he said and what can be proven is that he said he was in fear for his life, and this guy touched him and he protected himself. And even asking, is this self defense? The mere fact that he asked that, that crosses that minor burden of proving to the state that he really thought that. Now, the standard is, did he think that? And is it reasonable for a person to use the force necessary that he used? The answer to that question, I mean, it's clearly no. I mean, I see a lot of people in the chat want to argue that it's clearly no, that he didn't meet force with force. He will be guilty of that. But what people need to understand is that a lot of this is posturing. Sure, it was not really technically self defense, but in order for you to get to mitigate yourself out of that charge, you have to, as an attorney, you have to try to find your way to manslaughter or criminally negligent homicide, because that's the only path you can get there. The difference between the two is first degree murder is 95 to 99 years. Second degree murder is 2 to 20 years. Negligent homicide.
Black, are you speaking Texas law? Because in your state, it may be different.
I'm talking exclusively Texas law.
Okay, so he's only been charged with one count, and that's murder one. So
yeah, but let me clear that up. The overhanging charge is murder one, but there's also lesser charges. I think it's subsection C. Subsection C tells you that you can be held for lesser charges, and the lesser charges is manslaughter and criminal homicide. See, what courts like to do, and which is kind of is kind of unfair in the system, and I'm using the word unfair loosely, because what attorneys like to do is they like to charge a little bit higher, so if they don't get that, they will land somewhere, right? When really you should charge exactly what you think the charge is, and if you didn't do exactly what they said you did, you should go free. But in order to loophole that as an attorney, what you do is you charge him for murder one. If we don't get him for murder one, then at least we get him for murder two, and he doesn't walk free. Because if they exclusively said murder one, he'll walk. If it's just murder one, you can easily prove that there wasn't malice or forethought, or he, just because he showed up with a knife, that don't mean he woke up and he said, I'm about to go kill somebody white today. And even if he did think that, how do you prove that? You can, it's not what you know, it's what you can prove. So how do you prove that? Just because you show up to to a school event. I wish people would stop saying that it was a school, because it wasn't school. But even in that doesn't really hold a whole bunch of weight, because there's plenty of cases where kids get into fights and there's a knife and someone die. And yeah, it matters in the sense of when you're being charged. That's why I'm saying that it's going to go from second degree murder. Then there's criminally negligent homicide that has the term to, I think it's 180 days to 2 years. Now, with that criminal negligent homicide, you can be added a enhancement if you use a deadly weapon, which he did, which is a knife, which is 2 to 10 years. So essentially what's going to end up happening is either he's going to, and this is just based on what we know right now, because there is things that can come out in court that might change a little bit, but it won't really relieve that framework of that precedent. So he'll get anywhere from 2 to 10 years, and people are probably going to be upset about that because they want to put him in jail for life simply because he used a knife.
I'll say this, and I appreciate you providing that, because in every jurisdiction that I cover a case in, I got to know the laws of that jurisdiction. And in the case just that's been adjudicated for child in I want to say that's North Carolina, it was only one charge, and the jurors didn't find him guilty. The rich child, and that was a murder.
Right.
Oh, that was Columbia,
Right.
South Carolina. Yes, sir. That was just this week. they turned that verdict over with that.
So it was an all or
Yeah,
nothing
because
in that case.
yeah, and that's why a lot of people have an issue with that case because the way they charged the case was simply one way, and if he was to get off that one way, then he walks off scot free like he did. Carmelo would have done the same because I don't care what people try to say with their feelings. It's not premeditation because you walked onto a campus or yeah, campus with a knife or whatnot.
Right.
Because as a lawyer, as an attorney, I could come up with a few dozen reasons why Carmelo could have been walking around with a knife. And all I have to do is have
Absolutely.
reasonable doubt. Let me give you an example. Carmelo lives in a neighborhood where there's 12% black people, right? So you can't tell me that he can't say, well, you know what? I've been in this neighborhood. I'm the outlier in the neighborhood. I get approached all the time. People drive down the street in their trucks with their gun racks, and then they call me N words and all that. And I've had a couple confrontations that didn't get physical, but I had a knife to protect myself. And he could have been walking through his neighborhood, walking through any adjacent neighborhood to get to the school, and I was using that knife for protection. Now, I did not think, and I'm saying this if I was Carmelo, I didn't think to use the knife until somebody threatened me, and and I reasonably believed thought I was going to get jumped by the twins. So I was not going to fight both of them. So I decided to reach in there and grab a knife. Was he right for doing that? No, because he did not meet force with force. But that doesn't make it premeditated murder. Premeditated murder means you had to have the malice of forethought. That means you had to think about it ahead of time. I understand the time is short as whatever. You can really formulate that malice in any moment, but it's probably easier to prove a sudden crime of heat or passion if you get into an altercation with a person and then you do what Carmelo did, which justifies second degree manslaughter.
Yeah, this definitely looks like in New York you have involuntary and voluntary manslaughter. This looks like a voluntary manslaughter. It would probably lean towards that, but a complete not guilty. Based on what you just said about the subsequent charges that can fall from that murder one, I don't think this going to. I really don't. I don't know. I don't want to. I got to be very objective here. It doesn't feel like a complete not guilty to me. And if I could
No,
be
I'm
honest,
not saying I'm sorry. I'm not saying it's a complete not guilty. What I'm saying is, if the only charge was first degree murder, if the only charge was first degree murder, then yes, he would walk out of there free because they could
right.
prove that he didn't necessarily have the malice to, a forethought to do that. But like I said, it's how you cover all your bases as an attorney. Is I'll charge you with the highest thing I can, but we'll mitigate it down to second degree if necessary. We just want to put him in jail for a whole bunch of years.
And do we know even if there was a plea? See, the problem with the judge, and it's not necessarily a problem, but for us as we talk about this, we don't know if there were a plea offers. We don't know if there was so many things that could have happened before it got to this stage, a trial where juries are seated and the count is still top count. We don't know what the lawyers have asked for. We'll know at the conclusion. We won't know until during the trial. Motions won't really be discussed during the trial. We'll know at the conclusion. So this case is going to be studied. What's your viewpoint, Tyler, on not having this thing televised? Do you have a position one way or the other?
Yeah, I was pretty disappointed to hear that nobody was going to be allowed to bring cameras in. I think, you know, if you read and watch the news as much as I do, and I'm sure you guys both do, we haven't stopped hearing about this case since the incident happened. It comes up weekly in conversation. It's been a very, very tense conversation online in every corner of the internet. They're discussing this on one side or the other. And I think that the people really wanted a better inside look at what's going on here rather than having to, wait for the people on the inside to bring us what they have. So I was disappointed that, it wasn't going to be televised, for sure.
Black, you grew up. I don't know where you grew up at. I don't know if you grew up in the hood. You grew up in a affluent area. I don't know how you grew up. When I was 17, I I never felt the need to carry a weapon. As I grew up, I never found the need to carry a weapon. I just told them, and I grew up in a very bad neighborhood. I never found the need to carry a weapon. What has changed with the way we grew up and the kids now, and they feel the need to carry weapons?
Well, kids nowadays are more emotional. When we were growing up, we used to fight each other and then still play with each other afterwards sometimes. But nowadays, everyone's so emotional, so scared that they're entitled because their feet are not being held to the fire. So nowadays, it's a little bit uh, it's crazier. More people are bringing guns to school. You see more fights. You see all these fights at the graduation. You didn't have a fight at your graduation either, or even hear of it. So you see all that kind of stuff. So the society has changed, and that's essentially what it boils down to. But him bringing a knife to school, that I'm telling you, that's only going to really come into play as far as the sentencing part. But that's not going. Here's the main issue of the case. This will simplify it for a lot of people. It's all about provocation. Did Carmelo provoke Metcalf, or did Metcalf provoke Carmelo? And that's the question, and that's the question right there, because a lot of people want to get caught up on the touch me and see what happened, and our Caucasian counterparts, when they hear that, and I'm not saying they're even wrong for this. And when they hear that as you're trying to entice me into something else. But
I have
in
read
my
that narrative.
neighborhood, but in my neighborhood, if somebody threatening you, especially if they already pushed you, and he says, "Hey, touch me again and see what happened," that sounds like to us, "F around and find out." So it all depends on how you want to look at it, because if he's already touched Carmelo, I'm not provoking you by warning you. That sounds like a warning to me. And basically, he might have been in fear because he was in a group with a bunch of other people that were probably yelling at him, "Hey, get out of here! You don't belong here!" Just like the people in this chat talking about it was their tent and all that stuff. First of all, it's not a tent; it's a canopy. So a lot of times people try to make this a curtilage, or try to make this like this is my castle doctrine. No, he had a legal right to be there. And what kind of universe do we live in where if you've been in the South for any amount of time, and it rains hella hard for like 5 minutes and it stops, and then it rains again hella hard or whatever, and he
Yes, sir, it
goes and get
does.
under a tent, and then he gets under a tent, and you have the nerve to say, "Hey, you don't belong here. You don't go to my school." Like, okay, cool. You can have that school pride, and you can even feel that way, but you cannot put your hands on somebody and force them out as if that's your home, because he had a legal right to be there. Now, to be fair, Carmelo didn't have the legal right to use that force unless he can articulate that he felt reasonably to a reasonable, prudent person. Meaning, if I was to pick 100 people, about 70% of them are going to say, "Yeah, that makes sense. I would have done the same or similar." And if that's not the burden that he catches, I mean that he crosses, then he's wrong for that. So both parties are wrong here. So people standing on one side, total antithesis of the other side, really both people are not accurate, because the answer is in the middle, and that middle is where manslaughter and negligent homicide sit. And I promise you, that's where this case is going to land. And because there's precedent of other court cases in Texas that's done that, and it can't go too far out of that legal framework, or it will be appealed, and it will probably be overturned. More,
And
not probably. I can't say probably because there's no guarantees, but it's a high likelihood it will be overturned.
right. And I will have I had legal analyst Julie Grant on earlier this morning, and I had an appeal question issue, and this may be another part that I can address down the road. Now, something I didn't know until today about the rain. I didn't know it was raining, so that may be a reason why he was under that tent as well.
I was
No,
unaware of that. You just mentioned it.
that's
That was
the
the first I've heard of it.
that's the exact reason why he even went under the tent. If you read the arrest report, it says that he was walking on his phone. It started raining. He probably looked and saw the tent, ran up there real quick, sat down, And they was like, "Hey, who are you?" And he was like, probably looking like, "What? Leave me alone," basically. And then he was like, "No, you got to get up out of here." And then he pushed them or put his hands on them. That's all that matters. Whether it's a punch, a strike, a glance, or whatever, it doesn't matter. So they tried to force him out, which they did not have legal right to do, and he put his hands on him. So at that point, he could protect himself. He has no duty to retreat. He doesn't have to leave. He has a legal right to be there. He wasn't committing a crime. All those are elements. Because if he were doing any of those things, then he would be in the wrong. He wasn't doing any of those things. And then where he did go wrong is he didn't match force with force. And that's it. And
Okay.
now the question is,
To your point.
is it provocation or not?
So let me ask you a question. He didn't match allegedly force with force. If he felt the people that was around him were an extension of Metcalf, can you then say there was no perceived force threat with a threat of maybe getting beat the crap out by a bunch of people? Because there was a fear there, but there wasn't a.
Yeah.
I mean, he could have left. Some people could say he could just screw it. I'm just going to get away. He could have left too. So do you
But
think
he has no duty to do that, though.
he
So
does?
we shouldn't use that as an
Okay.
example. You can't use that because he has no duty to retreat.
Right. Okay, and that's the law. He has no duty. But with does he then can he then argue that, hey, these people around me, I'm by myself. I didn't feel I need to leave. Plus, I'm getting wet. Are these people on threat? I don't know. It's like, you got a bunch of people around me. Can he say I was scared and I thought maybe this will move everybody else back? Were they going to gang up? We don't know if other people made statements either.
Yeah, absolutely. Because we don't know what they were saying. He could have heard comments amongst the group that multiple people were going to jump him or whatever, whatnot. Because we don't know for sure what the conversation is. But the thing about it is, yes, the standard that he has to meet, though, because I'm sure the defense are going to articulate that. Because as you see now, Carmelo, he's coming into court weighing 130 pounds, looking really frail. They're trying to say the other guy was 200 pounds. Yeah, that makes it matters a little bit, but it paints a psychological picture in your head, the differential, right? So that's all a legal game. But the thing about it is, yes, it could be true. They might have were going to jump him. They don't. But what he has to be able to articulate is, if I was to pick 70 people out of 100, they in that same situation will perceive it the same way you did. Because just because you perceived it as a threat doesn't mean that a reasonable person think it was a threat. Because is it reasonable to use a knife at a gunfight? No, it's not reasonable. So obviously, there's a question right there. So yeah, it could have been he going to use that as a defense, but is the average person or a reasonably prudent person going to believe just based on that alone that's enough? See, this is why people are mad at the Trayvon Martin case, because you know what Zimmerman did that was smart, because he was in criminal justice.
I
He
cover that.
allowed Trayvon to attack him first before he pulled out the weapon. And then that proves right there, yeah, you probably was in fear for your life because you had this guy plummeting you. That's why he never fought back. He just reached for his gun.
Well, no, I covered that trial in Sanford, Florida. So
Okay.
George Zimmerman was walking around. It was raining. He had his suit on. He was going to visit his dad.
He was driving.
No, Trayvon wasn't driving.
No, not Trayvon. I thought you said Zimmerman was driving, walking around.
No,
My bad.
right.
My
So
bad.
the witness testimony was that George got on top of him and he started fighting George. He said, "Who's this?"
Okay.
Yeah, so he started fighting him. But
Okay.
I don't know if George's account was accurate, and I think the consensus was that George likely was doing more than he should have been doing that night in the rain. So he was.
That's an opinion. That's an opinion, right? Because this is where this opinion comes from. Because people say the police officer told him to not follow him. One, the dispatcher is not a police officer, so that was not a police officer. Secondly, even if he did attack or we don't really know how the confrontation happened. What we can prove is there was a confrontation. What we can prove is that one person had a bunch of marks all on his face and whatever, meaning that he was in an altercation. And that's all you have to prove, that you were in an altercation, that you was in reasonable fear for your life, and he could prove that. I'm not saying that I am a pro George Zimmerman. I'm just saying that's what the law states, and that's why he got off. And a lot of people don't understand because they're not looking at it from the legal aspect. They're looking at it from a personal, what would happen if I was in that situation aspect.
Okay, I appreciate it. Tyler, can you offer something?
Um, I don't have much to offer as far as the comparison to the Zimmerman case. You know,
You were a
that's something
baby.
that unfolded when I was like, dude, I had to have been 10 years old, 12
I
years
know.
old. And I mean, I totally remember the significance of it. You know, it was a very big case. I'm not sure I like the comparison of the two. I understand what you're saying with you know what allowed Zimmerman to get off, what allowed him to make the claim of fear and of self-defense. But I think we're in a different social climate. We're in you know, you guys spoke earlier on how the new generation um carries themselves and behaves differently. They are armed more likely than you know, somebody in your generation at that age. So I think these cases, you know, couldn't be further from one another.
Well, the Trayvon Martin case is probably more racially charged at this
I would
point
agree.
than this case is,
I
and
would
George
absolutely agree.
Zimmerman wasn't even white. They were trying to make him white. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't even a white guy. They were trying to say he was white. So, and this is clearly a black and white situation. But what I will say is this though: had had Carmelo Anthony got into a situation where he was fighting both brothers, I'm talking about literally if he would have gotten into a fight with one of them, and then the other one just came over there for whatever reason and looked like he put his hands on him, looked like he was helping his brother or anything, and Carmelo reached in his bag or reached in his pocket or reached out the sky and grabbed the pocket knife and then did what he did, that would have been pure self defense because he was being attacked. And it's reasonable to believe if two people were fighting one, you could be in fear for your life. That's reasonable to believe. If I picked 70 people out of 100 and I asked them, hey, if two people came up to you and y'all had an altercation, and would you be in fear for your life if they jumped you, or if one of them jumped you and the other one came over to help? Would you be in fear for your life? And I think the average person would say yes.
I would be one of those average people. I have to agree.
Right. So just the perception of something happening is not good enough in this case because he may perceive.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
All right. Well, I think you know we're not there yet. Today's just opening, and I'm going to have to get a update from my team on the ground. With that, I appreciate both of you coming on the platform. I don't want neither of you to be strangers. Tyler, make sure you hit that follow button, and Black, make sure you hit that follow button.
I got you already.
Absolutely. I appreciate you having us this morning, Dennis. And I'll be looking forward to checking back in on, you know, to hear some of your thoughts on the case as we move forward. Maybe even stop back in here and talk to you for a minute if I get a chance.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to finish that police report. It sounds like Black read the whole police report. Black, am I right?
Well, yeah. I follow these kind of cases all the time because a lot of times African Americans, we look at the law inaccurately and then we like to yell it's not justice. Just like the no white people on the jury, like we're instantly saying that this is prejudicial when legally it's not, especially if you live in a community where it's only 1 out of 100 people that's black. The chances of you having a non-black jury is very high. So it's not like it's improbable. But yeah, I do have. I started doing a legal breakdown of this. I call it the people's paralegal. So if people want to have questions, and then I'll try to explain it to them in a regular street way, from the courtroom, from the concrete type deal. So I'll be talking back with you again, and I'm going to do some breakdowns on this case because I think it's imperative, and this is a good time for people to understand, how to interpret the law, not their feelings.
That's right. Feelings, facts over feelings is my motto.
Yeah.
Tyler, Black, I appreciate both of you. I'll see you guys on the next one. Lock in. Make sure those notification bells on. Because buckle up, because this is about to be a ride for us. This is about to be a ride.
Absolutely. Hey, you two fellas both enjoy the rest of your day. I appreciate
Thank
you
you,
guys.
brother.
Thank
God
you.
bless.
All right, guys. So there you have it. I appreciate my guests that came on today. You guys can definitely stay locked in. I need to get an update on this. Check with my team. I don't think I'm going to end the live. I'm going to keep the live going because I want to also complete the reading of this police report, because there are things that I'm listening to as I read it, and I'm like, oh, okay, wow, interesting. That those jurors will likely have to, get similar information. And I just want to make sure we are covering all our bases. And I appreciate the guests that have come on today. And with that, we're not going to end the live, but we're going to put you guys on probably we're going to take about a 5-minute break, 10-minute break, actually. I need to be taking a lunch break, but that's another conversation. And I'm going to check on my people on the ground. With that, ladies and gentlemen, I'll see you shortly. We'll be here live.
Yeah, from the culture
To the courtroom.
This is Truth Uncut. From the culture to the courtroom, front row seats when Dennis Byron speaks. History speaks. From the culture to the courtroom, front row seats when Dennis Byron speaks. History speaks from the culture.
No cap, no spin, just facts. If it matters, we cover it. What's ready, B.I.B.? Ooh, Byron wanna know. Ooh, it's shit the Dennis Byron show. I'm right here, but you don't feel me. We talk circles, never really see me. Same night, same fight, different story. I'm explaining why you ignoring. I ask questions, you go quiet. I get louder, you deny it. We're reacting to our triggers, not the truth between the filters. I thought love would just know me. You thought patience would show me. Maybe we ain't distant, just lost in translation slowly. We speak different languages, same heart, different rhythms, but we're not that far. You feel love one way, I feel another. That don't make me weak, don't make you tougher. If we listen instead of defend, we might finally comprehend. Love don't mean we match every line, just means I honor your mind. Just means I honor your mind. I was taught to hold my feelings, smile through it, keep it peeling. You were raised to say it right now, say it all, don't let it die out. So when I pause, you think I'm gone. When you press, I put mama on. We judging her from our own lens, instead of asking where it ends. I don't need you to be me, you don't need to reshape me. Maybe loving means letting each other just be free. Hey, we speak different languages, same heart, different rhythms, but we're not that far. You feel love one way, I feel another. That don't make me weak, listen instead of defend, we might finally comprehend. That don't mean we match every line, just means I honor your mind. Just means I honor your mind. I'm not trying to win the moment, I just want you present. I don't need perfection, I need direction. Let me finish what I'm feeling, without you fixing or leaving. I hear you without assuming, without bruising what we building. Say it slow, I'm listening. Living, don't be wrong. Different languages, same love. Still choosing us when it gets rough. I don't need you to change your name, just meet me halfway in the pain. If we listen instead of defend, we might finally understand. Love ain't losing who we are, it's learning how to love us as we are. Communication ain't control, it's let somebody keep their soul. Different voices still aligned, that's the kind of love that survives.
You said you had to tell me, but I'm still trying to figure out if you told me everything.
You look remorseful in this dim light, voice low like you practiced all night. But I've learned tears don't equal truth, and apologies don't undo. You say it was one time, one mistake, but I feel more behind what you won't say. Cause when I ask you to look me in my eyes, you hesitate, that's where the doubt lies. You say you're sorry, say it changed, but sorry don't feel different than the last time. And love don't survive on promises, it survives on proof over time. So give me a reason, not a speech, not a confession. Give me a reason why I shouldn't walk away from this. You want forgiveness, but forgiveness ain't free. If I let you back into my heart, what makes you so sure you won't break me again? Give me a reason. I was loyal when you were distant, still defended you in rooms you weren't in. So don't expect me to just forget what it took for me to finally feel safe again. You say you hate who you were that night, but what about the man I slept beside? Was he already halfway gone, or was I the only one holding on? You want my grace, you want my trust, but trust don't rebuild itself, and love don't heal by words alone. It heals by what you do when no one else is around. So give me a reason, not your guilt, not your shame. Give me a reason why this pain won't come back again. You say you love me, but love don't lie. If I open this door one more time, tell me why I won't regret it tonight. What happens next time you feel lonely? Next time temptation knows your name. Next time I'm not in the room with you, will you still choose me the same? 'Cause I've already cried my tears, I've already lost my sleep. I won't trade my peace for promises that don't know how to keep me. I'm not saying no, but I'm not saying yes. I just need to know who you are when love gets tested. So give me a reason, something real I can't believe. Give me a reason why your truth won't change on me. If I have your back, it won't be blind. This time love gotta come with proof, not just words after midnight.
listening, but I'm not convinced yet. You said you had to tell me, but I'm still trying to figure out if you told me everything.
You look remorseful in this dim light, voice low like you practiced all night. But I've learned tears don't equal truth, and apologies don't undo. You say it was one time, one mistake, but I feel more behind what you won't say. Cause when I ask you to look me in my eyes, you hesitate. That's where the doubt lies. You say you're sorry, say you changed, but sorry don't feel different than the last time. And love don't survive on promises, it survives on proof over time.
You said you had to tell me, but I'm still trying to figure out if you told me everything.
You look remorseful in this dim light, voice low like you practiced all night. But I've learned tears don't equal truth, and apologies don't undo. You say it was one time, one mistake, but I feel more behind what you won't say. Cause when I ask you to look me in my eyes, you hesitate. That's where the doubt lives. You say you're sorry, say you changed, but sorry don't feel different than the last time. And love don't survive on promises, it survives on proof over time. So give me a reason, not a speech, not a confession. Give me a reason why I shouldn't walk away from this. You want forgiveness, but forgiveness ain't free. If I let you back into my heart, what makes you so sure you won't break me again? I was loyal when you were distant, still defended you in rooms you were in. So don't expect me to just forget what it took for me to finally feel safe again. You say you hate who you were that night, but what about the man I slept beside? Was he already halfway gone, or was I the only one holding on? No, no. You want my grace, you want my trust, but trust don't rebuild itself. And love don't heal by words alone, it heals by what you do when no one else is around. No reason, not your guilt, not your shame. Why this pain won't come back again? You say you love me, but love don't lie. If I open this door one more time, tell me why I won't regret it tonight, Bill. What happens next time you feel lonely? Next time temptation knows your name. Next time I'm not in the room with you, will you still choose me to stay? Cause I've already cried my tears, I've already lost my sleep. I won't trade my peace for promises that don't know how to keep me. I'm not saying no, but I'm not saying yes. I just need to know who you are when love gets tested. So give me a reason, something real I can't believe. Give me a reason why your truth won't change on me. It won't be blind this time. Love gotta come with proof, not just words after midnight. I'm listening, but I'm not convinced yet.
Yeah. This ain't easy to say, but you deserve the truth. So listen. It was one of those nights, city humming, lights low. I told myself I'd be home early, but temptation had a hold. Had your picture in my phone, still ignored every sign. I knew the second I walked out, I was playing with fire. This time I had love waiting on me. Still I chased the moment's thrill. Told myself it wouldn't matter, but I felt it even still. Every step away from you, I swear my conscience screamed, but I let desire talk louder. Now I'm haunted by the scene. I can't dress it up in lies. I can't blame it on the wine. I was wrong, I crossed the line, and I've been carrying every night. So I had to tell you, baby, I stepped out on us. I crossed the line, I can't erase, and I don't blame you. If it's too much, I know I broke your heart, put a crack in your trust, but I respect you too much to keep the truth. I had to tell you, love. Yeah. Now you look at me different, like you don't feel safe, like you don't feel safe. Every smile feels guarded, like love got replaced with pain. You still reach for my hand, but it don't feel the same. And that's the part that kills me more, watching you slowly change. You was riding for me heavy when I had nothing to give, and I paid you back with secrets. That's a hard way to live. I see the questions in your sign, hear the doubt when you breathe, and every tear that falls from you, like it should have been me. I ain't asking you to stay, I ain't begging for your grace. I just couldn't let you love me while I hid behind a fake face. Oh, so I had to tell you, I cheated, I messed up. I broke the vows we never spoke, but always meant with love. I know I broke your heart, put a crack in your trust, but I respect you too much to keep the truth. I had to tell you, love. So I had to tell you, carry your trust. Yeah. Tell you, love, 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 love. Late night, 2 a.m., I'm pacing. Yeah. Your perfume still on my sheets, I hate it. Yeah. I've been rehearsing what I say, but the truth don't sound clean when you play it. Oh, you knew I was taken, I let it slide. I knew it was wrong, bitter inside. The text feel like evidence, and I'm standing here reading my sentence. Eyes find a dawn in her own. So before you hear it somewhere else, before it turns into something worse, I gotta own it. Yeah, I heard you, I crossed the line, put lust first. I ain't proud, I ain't innocent, just a man confessing in the dark. If this truth breaks us apart, I'll wear it. That's my part. If you walk away tonight, I'll understand the reason. If you need time, I'll give you space, 'cause I'm the one who caused the bleeding. I'll do the work, I'll change my way. Whether you're mine or just a memory, I just couldn't let you find out from somebody else but me. I messed up, yeah, ain't no excuses. I didn't tell you to be forgiven, I told you 'cause you deserve the truth. I'd rather lose you. I'd rather lose you honestly, keep you living in a lie. I had to tell you, hey baby, for it.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen. Yes. And all we want is the truth. Put a 1 in the chat if you hear the sound of my voice, ladies and gentlemen. Put a 1 in the chat if you hear the sound of my voice. I am back. What you guys think about the music? What did you think about the music? Written by yours truly. These are all my songs. Did you enjoy the music? Did you feel the music? Someone said on Twitter, you might have to put a beat behind it. So I show you, I not only have the beats, I have the lyrics. I didn't want to play elevator music. I wanted to play my music. And And I wrote a song for a very special person. She might be watching right now. We'll talk about that later, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, so this music is all owned by yours truly. Have songs on iTunes. I have songs on all the music streaming platforms, as a matter of fact. So you guys can pull up some of my music. But I had to share it with you as a special treat. A special treat. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, I'm seeing reports now coming out of the courtroom that perhaps Karmelo Anthony was running and being chased. That's what I'm hearing from some reporting. I have not confirmed it fully, but this is coming out of one of the legacy media that is inside. And if that is the case, then someone tried to chase him. Is that significant? Or were they trying to apprehend him? Don't know. I just heard this through someone reporting it on Twitter. So we don't know if that's true, but we'll verify it. We don't know if it's true. You know, because people put all kinds of stuff out there. We don't know if he's being chased, but we'll find out. So I'm looking at the comments, and I appreciate you guys leaving, participating. But let me say this: it's okay to leave a comment, but hit the follow button. Hit the follow. Come on. Just don't leave a comment, because I would like to read your comment. You know, if you want me to read your comment and make it stand out, all you have to do is one thing. There's a button there where I can put these comments on the stage too, but they're so distracting. I can put them right there on the stage, but they're so distracting. But some of you guys like to put comments on the stage. I don't know if I want my comments on the stage, but this is what you can do. Is follow the instructions on that banner. Support the platform, because it's not easy what we do, but we enjoy doing it nevertheless. So far, we had a really good dialogue with some very intelligent people that came on the platform, and I appreciate that. And some of you that actually haven't spoken, and you want to give your 2 cents. Don't hide behind comments. Have the balls or the courage to pull up on the platform and get on the screen. Because otherwise, like some of you just got Twitter fingers and just want to just say anything. Come on the screen. People say, no, don't bring them up. No, I want people to speak their piece. If they have strong convictions and they can get on Twitter, have those same convictions and get on the screen and talk about your convictions. Otherwise, I just think you're just doing it for clout. Just doing it for clout. Come on up. You see, I'm never scared. Some of you have said some of them. I won't gaslight you, but I can bring the same energy if I wanted to. But here's the link. If you want to come up and jump on the screen, we are here for it. We're here for it. We can continue reading the police report, and I think people are still interested in the police report as well. And this is the account. This is what people have stated to the police during that time. So we can easily see Whitlock out there talking about black fatigue. Come on, stop it. Come on, click on the link. Click on the link if you want to come up. Just don't just post things, because my moderators know what to do. Don't. Only if they're being disrespectful. If they just talking. As long as they being disrespectful, don't block them. Do not block them.
But if you want to come up on the screen and share your point of view from the lens that you are looking out of, I welcome you up here. I love dialogue. This is America. Freedom of speech. Freedom of speech. Freedom of the press. Come on up here. Just don't get on Twitter and just say anything, because I've invited several of you to my block party. You gotten invited to the block party. The only problem is it's no re-entry, because once you make the block party, get on that list. I review that list every 24 months, because you'll likely be on that block party list for about 24 months. So if you want to come up and just share your point of view, your thoughts, what you believe based on your clear knowledge of this case, sure, I have no problem with you coming up. Shout out to Be More Shorty, my mod. I haven't seen you guys in a minute. You're probably saying, where you been at, Mr. Byron? I've been outside. I've been moving around. I decided I wanted to fall back and just talk to the people a little more. I haven't been doing that. I've been doing that, but not on camera. I'm getting ready for Sunday because I'm covering the NBA Finals in New York City. The Knicks in 5. I would say 4, but if they sweep San Antonio Spurs, which I'm hoping, your guy Wembley didn't do what you thought he was going to do last night, and you try to hurt my guy Brunson. Johnson played with an injured finger, but we still pulled it off. We pulled it off. And I think we're gonna pull it off again. When we come into your house and then we beat you at your own home, we came to your house and beat you. I'm gloating now because we won. Listen, get your Pele gear ready. Oh, yeah, listen. I might have to throw on my Carl Kanai. I don't know. I might have to listen. If we win this one, I might bring something back from 27 years ago. I might put my my Averex jacket on. It's a New York. Listen, it goes down in New York Sunday. It goes down, and if San Antonio believes that they're gonna come to New York and not get that New York energy, oh baby. It's going down. Yeah. Carl Kanai, Sir Benny Miles. Listen, don't get me started now. What do you know about Sir Benny Miles? What you know about this? Don't have me put. Listen. I was in Manhattan the other day, in the fashion district. Then I was in Soho, and they had a vintage store. I'm not gonna put the store on blast, but they had a vintage store, and in the window in this vintage store, this is after the Eastern Conference champions, New York Knicks, won. They had a jersey of the Cleveland Cavaliers. I walked into the store. I said, "Sir, why is that shirt in your window? Do you know who won the Eastern Conference Finals?" He said, "No, I really don't follow basketball." Oh, clearly you don't understand marketing. Your storefront, your window is your display. This is how you draw people in. But I came in for the wrong reason. You got to remove the shirt. He said, "Sir, we sold out the Knicks. So you're going to put a Cleveland Cavaliers in the window? Are you trying to lose business or gain business?" I thought it was funny. I'm like, wait a minute. You could have put anything. You got all this product that no one knows about. It didn't even have to be a jersey, but you got a Cleveland Cavaliers jersey in your window, and you want people to patronize your business. No, that's not. You're in New York. That didn't work. Let's see here. The rules, Averex. You know about the Averex. The rules that my parents had for me is different than the parents that I have for my children, and different than the rules that those that come after me. So, and the other thing is, as my previous guest had pointed out, that the makeup of Collins County is for a person of color, it's minimal. It's not a lot of blacks in Collins County, so you're not going to get a wide selection of blacks on the jury. And then my other guest, Ms. Julie Grant, also pointed out that there are different reasons why jurors are excluded. Now, if there is a conviction and ultimately an appeal, these are some of the things that will likely come up. So again, I've seen cases where an all-white jury has acquitted a person of color. Not a lot of cases, but in a rare instance, it happened. I'm saying not a lot. I'm saying there's been a lot. It's more or less than more or less than, come on. I've seen it. And but would I feel better with a diverse jury? Absolutely. I feel better with a diverse jury because people have different experiences and from different cultures. Different experience from different cultures. And I won't say that, or I won't say I can't believe, but if you don't come from where I come from, how can you really relate to what, why I think the way I think? So I don't know. Someone says, no, well, no, I don't believe anyone should have died that day. I don't believe anyone should. I don't believe Austin should be dead right now. Can I say it? I don't believe he should be dead right now. And it's very sad that he is. Because he didn't come to that track meet thinking that this would be his last day. No different than you walk in your supermarket or you walk in your gas station or you walk in your home. You never think that that's going to be your last day. I mean, we can agree that he should be alive today. Being mean is not a reason to be dead. Being mean is not a reason to be dead. And a thought becomes words. Sometimes words becomes actions. But being mean is not a reason to be dead. I saw the comment. It caught me. I don't think anyone can justify someone being mean is a reason to be, no, I'm not going to say that. And I don't even think Karmelo wanted him to be dead because he wouldn't have asked, is he okay? We're going to see the autopsy report at some point. We're going to see certain evidence that will paint a better picture. And in the end, there's going to be an outcome. And no matter what the outcome is, someone's not going to be happy. That's just what it is. And we did, listen, I see the comments. We talked about putting the hands on, we talked about all that. But was death the only resolve? Anyway. But again, to ask if someone's okay, maybe they thought that they just cut them. Don't know. Don't know. I never stabbed anyone. So I don't know what that is like. Or cut anyone. I may put some hands back in the day in a competitive way. In a competitive way. Not just putting hands on somebody, just no. No. That's not me. That is not me, ladies and gentlemen. And with that, I am actually going to, it's my lunch break, and I'm going to have to see you guys on my next live. Make sure, hold on, before I even leave here. If you are on YouTube, please hit the notification and follow button now. Hit the notification and follow button now. And we'll be back to continue the conversation as we have more information coming out of the trial. Make sure that you are following this page. And if you're on Twitter, stop being so damn mean. That's all. Because 99% of you are not busting a grape in a fruit fight. A lot of you have Twitter fingers, wouldn't bust a grape in a fruit fight. But I get it. A lot of people feel big on Twitter. I can do anything I want. I can say anything I want. But it's different when that person is in your face. The energy is different. Shout out to Chud the builder. He's learning the hard way. Yeah. He's learning the hard way. With that, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate you joining. This has been real. But until next time, make sure you respect others as you want to be respected. That's all I ask.
Yeah, from the culture
To the courtroom.
This is Truth Uncut. From the culture to the courtroom, front row seats. When Dennis Byron speaks, history speaks. From the culture to the courtroom, front row seats. When Dennis Byron speaks, history speaks. From the culture.